So it has been predicted that Apple will acquire Peloton in 2024. Now, this is actually pretty interesting because this prediction was made by the investment firm Deepwater Asset Management. And this is one of the 13 predictions Deepwater made for 2024. And it's worth thinking about given that the firm got 8 out of 10 of their predictions correct for 2023. Deepwater's exact prediction is that, quote, Apple will acquire Peloton. Apple will look to bolster their workout segment in 2024 by adding fitness equipment to complement the watch and fitness tracking software. Peloton has a loyal subscriber base of about 3 million users that will add about $1.7 billion to Apple's subscription revenue. Additionally, this fits well into Apple's continued investment in health and wellness. Now, in the past, I've been highly skeptical of Apple's interest in Peloton, but I do think there are some good arguments about why they may want to acquire them now, especially considering that Peloton stock has dropped so much over the past few years, and the purchase price could be fairly reasonable for a company like Apple. And let me know in the comments what you think about this idea of Apple acquiring Peloton, whether you think it would be a good thing or not. Okay, so after seeing this prediction from Deepwater, I started thinking about the previous Apple acquisitions, and the one that I found most useful to compare with was when Apple bought Beats for $3.2 billion back in 2014. And the reason that Apple bought Beats is something that I found very interesting because, at least according to Eddie Q, Apple's senior vice president of internet software and services, Apple really didn't care much about the headphones themselves. And though Beat was doing over $1 billion in revenue, that revenue wasn't the primary factor that Apple was interested in. There were two other pieces that were a bigger priority. One of which was Beats Music, which was a music streaming service similar to Spotify. And that was something that Apple was really interested in to develop their own streaming service, Apple Music, which is what Beats Music turned into after some changes a year after Beats was acquired. And getting the music service right for a subscription like this is huge and has been a giant win for Apple since its release. But even more importantly than that, one of the biggest reasons Apple bought Beats was to get the right talent on board, because Beats was founded by two huge figures in the music industry, Jimmy Iovine, who co-founded Interscope Records, one of the most successful labels in the world, and Dr. Dre, one of the most iconic rappers in history, who's also had a tremendous success as a record producer. And that high level of talent is really important to Apple. And that's why, for example, when creating Apple TV Plus, Apple paid so much to get high-profile actors, directors, and writers on board. So if we now look through those same lenses for a possible Peloton acquisition, to me, it looks pretty similar. First, we have the bikes, and like Beats, Peloton makes premium products with revenue over $1 billion. And while Apple might be slightly interested in having some of their own fitness equipment, it's probably not that important to them, similar to how Beats headphones weren't really that important either. More importantly, like Beats Music, is Peloton's own subscription service that is easily the most beloved, well-produced, and largest membership fitness service of its kind. And so I think Apple sees that subscription revenue that Peloton makes and can definitely see the value of owning and expanding on that. Now, you could make the argument that, well, Apple already has Apple Fitness Plus, so doesn't need Peloton. But I think if you compare the two services, it's very easy to tell that Peloton's is superior in pretty much every single way. But most importantly, in my opinion, just like with Beats, would be the talent acquisition. There's no doubt that Peloton has made some pretty poor decisions over the past few years, but when it comes to talent acquisition and development, they are the absolute masters of that, with so many of their instructors, many of which who were pretty much unknown before joining Peloton, ending up so good. I mean, there's a reason why people are such huge fanatics for Peloton, and it's not because of the bikes, it's the coaches. And they are so talented. You are now seeing all kinds of places trying to scoop them up for when they aren't teaching Peloton classes. You have Jess Sims joining ESPN as the member of College Game Day. Ali Love joined the Today Show. Robin Arzon just joined the Good Morning America team. Alex DeSaint constantly being invited to play in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game, and he won the MVP last year. Cody Rigsby on Dancing with the Stars, and the list just goes on and on. So the sheer amount of talent that can be picked up by Apple by buying Peloton is just enormous. And I imagine that is definitely something that could be on their minds if there is a possibility of an acquisition. And if Apple were to buy Peloton, I think we would certainly see some changes as well. For one, I think if they decided to continue selling the bikes, I would expect a redesign to make it better integrated with Apple products. So I definitely would expect them to get rid of the screen, and so that an iPad or an iPhone could be used instead, or even possibly the Apple Vision Pro or a version of the Vision Pro should they make one that is a bit more fitness friendly. Secondly, I would expect the Peloton streaming service to eventually become integrated with Apple Fitness Plus, either adding to it, replacing it, or being offered as a premium edition. And finally, since I think there would definitely be a redesign of the Peloton bike to be screenless, I think it is likely we would also see the elimination of the premium pricing model Peloton uses for its subscription on its bikes. Because right now, Peloton charges almost twice as much for the same subscription if you use it on the bike compared to what they charge with for the app version. And if the bike is screenless and the app version could be used on the bike with like an iPad, I don't think they would try to get away with, as Peloton does, charging more for the same thing just because people are locked into a bike versus having other third-party options via the App Store. But overall, I think an acquisition of Peloton by Apple would be a good thing for everyone. Peloton is still not financially where they need to be in order to be a viable or profitable company. Their leadership just seems focused on survival at this point, and so it's hard for me to imagine that Apple buying Peloton would be anything less than positive. Except I would imagine if you don't like Apple products or you use Android or something, then yeah, it wouldn't be too great. But let me know what you think. As always, this is Colin Jenkins with Connect the Watts. Make sure to subscribe for the latest in fitness tech. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.